Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 226 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I am your host, Mike Eilon, CEO of Greek University. I am a speaker and a two-time author. Our second book, From Letters to Leaders, Redefining New Member Education and Leveraging Belonging to Eliminate Hazing, is available now on Amazon. Go and pick up that book. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, I can usually fall asleep in less than 2 minutes. When I was in college, I took a course for college credit on yoga, of all things. I had this gym requirement that had to be met as part of my degree. So it sounded like an easy A to me, and I could meet some other people on campus that I wanted to meet. And the teacher actually really showed me how to relax my entire body, one limb at a time. And by the end of the class, I was completely relaxed. So I've used these same methods that she taught me over 25 years ago every single night of my life. So if you have trouble sleeping, that is one thing for you to look into. Now, my next guest was the devoted husband to his wife, Beth, for 40 years. The last 3 was in the storm of terminal cancer. During this journey in the storm, they grew so close to each other and discovered purpose as they encouraged and served those people around them. As a dentist and as a certified leadership coach, he has devoted his entire life to helping others realize their potential. Everybody is in the midst of a storm or will be in the future. His secrets of perspective shift in the storm will allow others to experience impactfulness that they never could have imagined. Welcome to the show, Rod Knoerr.
Hey, it's great to be here, Mike.
Thank you so much for being here, Rod. I am a big fan of your work, so I'm so happy that you had the opportunity to jump on the podcast with us today. One of the things that I wanted to ask you right away, because I've been to this campus, at least 3 times in my life, you chose Saginaw Valley State University for your undergraduate experience. So I'm wondering, why did you choose Saginaw Valley of all places?
Mike, it's crazy. When you said you knew it, I thought, you got to be kidding me. I actually grew up out in the country, and Saginaw Valley was being built when I was young. My parents would not pay for college. And not only that, they were close. They wouldn't share their finances, so I couldn't apply for a loan. So it was 5 miles away. But I got to tell you, it was a great experience. My daughter, like 20 some years later, went to Saginaw Valley, and I'm telling her about this chemistry professor I had that was just all inorganic chemistry. She's sitting in her first day of class. He's looking at the kids. He goes, Christy Knoerr. No one says my weird German name the right way. I had a really good student years back with that name. That doesn't happen in a university of 50,000. I end up looking him up. She was in a communications kind of contest or something, and he was actually acting as the athletic director over at Ryder Center, so he wasn't in the chemistry department. And I'll never forget, I had to get buzzed up, and I said, I'm one of your old students. Now this is like 25 years later, and I can remember he says, hell yes, Rod, get up here. And I went up to where he was at. So I'm wearing the other color, the University of Michigan colors. Why did I go to dental school there? It was the #1 in the country at the time, and it was in state for me. But my experience there prepared for me, and I got into one of the best dental schools in the country. Yep,
that's
Saginaw Valley.
Yeah, that is fantastic. It's a lovely place. And of course, I even mispronounced it. I didn't know you go by the German pronunciation, which is with the K. So Knoerr, my apologies, because usually a lot of people who live in the United States with your last name, usually the K is silent, but I know the German pronunciation is different. So
stubborn German.
All right, listen, I love it. I think it's fantastic. Now let's talk about the relationship that you had with your wife, Beth. I mean, you were the devoted husband to Beth for 40 years. I mean, that in itself is just amazing. But the last 3 was in the storm of this terminal cancer. So what did you initially think when she got that diagnosis?
Well, and I write in the book a lot about, there's so much in this book, Don't Waste This Storm. Everybody wants to play victim in the storm, and so many things happened. One was breaking me. I have a chapter called Storms of Your Own Making. So I was already pretty much broken, and you think you're surrendering. I don't know, some people have they're a person of faith or whatever. I am. And she had been through a couple years of another storm, health storm I'm not going to get into, but it was defined and we're almost there. And right as we're almost there, she has these weird blood tests and it's terminal cancer. I say in the book, I finally learned how to surrender. It was like I had nothing. Because if you believe in a higher being, you're always trying to help, and it was like, I have nothing. And from there, we looked to our faith in each other and discovered a strength we never knew we had because of that horrendous storm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is just so tough to hear. You wrote this book, Don't Waste the Storm. And, I think a lot of people, they go through bad times. I mean, I think it hits everybody at a certain point in their life. And I think it's real easy to basically say, woe is me. I'm the victim here. So how did you ultimately shift your perspective from being the victim to ultimately being the victor?
Well, I after the fact was able to call it the who, what, when, where, why, how of perspective shift. But I think when you're hit with a storm, and I'm looking at the young people on college campuses, what a tumultuous time to be in college between COVID and the Ukraine, and there's so much coming at them. And I think then every one of us are in a storm. I tell you, you're going to hit with one. Someone's going to die near you. You're going to get a disease. You're going to have financial issues. You're going to have relational problems, something. But I think the first question you ask in the who, what, when, where, why, how is, why me? I'm a good person. And the second question is, when are we going to get through this? Wear yourself out with that. And then the third one is, how can I get myself out of it? Sometimes there's nothing you can do. And that's what we realized. So you wore out, and that, to me, most of that's victim mentality. It's reactive, and there's just no value to it. When she was admitted to University of Michigan Cancer Center for 3 weeks, we were 6 months into it, and I said something to her that I think was just, it was monumental. I said, Beth, it's not about us. And what it was is, we've been placed here for a reason, that we never would have been placed out the cancer. And now I'm going to the other three questions of who, what, when, where, why, how. The questions we started to ask ourselves then was, what can we do with the gifts we've been given and the experiences where we now find ourselves with who is now around us? And I'll tell you this, the story was, you want to go to a hopeless place, go to a cancer ward where the majority of the people are bald, not because it's hereditary baldness, but because of chemo, and women. And I mean, there were all these rooms where the shades were pulled and they would make you walk for like 2 miles. It was part of the chemo with your IV thing. And I'd walk with Beth. And she started to put these encouraging little sayings and some Bible verses on the windows of her room. She put thank yous to room so-and-so staff and everything. And we would just encourage 3 weeks. 3/4 of the shades were up and people were putting encouraging things. And we just kind of took that into the rest of our life. We were on humanitarian mission trips every year to the country of Romania. The doctor said, you can't go, your immunity's too low, you'll die of an infection. Well, guess what? She died of cancer. A week after we got back from Romania, she's in this little village, not too far from the Ukraine, by the way, encouraging villagers. And at the end of her 15-minute talk, she said, when we come, people tell us how blessed these Romanians must be. And she looked at the villagers and said, we get more from you than we give you. And that really sums up why we found serving others just energized us and gave us purpose.
Mm-hmm. I want to flesh that out a little bit. I mean, you talked about that you believe that it's not where you find yourself, but instead it's about who you're with that matters. So I'm trying to figure out, what did you mean by that? Talk to us a little bit more when you say it's about who you're with that matters.
Well, I think I remember when I was younger and some of my classmates, it's like you've just all these years of going to school. When I get the nice car, the big house, the whatever, life will be great.
Mhm.
And we had 5 children, so we had a busy life. And wouldn't you know, the fifth child got married 6 months before she was diagnosed. We had very little time. It was empty nest, whatever you want to call it. But right before that, and we have a lot of grandchildren, we were driving to a funeral dinner for one of her cousin's parents who had passed. And this leads into the other story, but I said to Beth, I said, well, we're on a funeral dinner date. But the point was where we were going, we were in the car together talking for 2 hours. And that's all that mattered. We were together connecting. So now fast forward to cancer ward. I gave my wife a diamond in college. Oh my goodness. I thought I was going to go broke. It was $400 in 1977. I'm having heart failure, but I gave it to her on Valentine's Day. We celebrated Valentine's Day in a cancer ward. That was the best Valentine's Day of our marriage. My daughter decorated it. My wife just was this massive decorating person. Every season, it was like a wonderland. But my daughter decorated it. I went out and bought her a red blouse, took off her, her hospital stuff. They had steak on the menu at the hospital. And I bought these votive candles because you couldn't have live, they had to be electric votive candles. But what brought tears to her is I downloaded the song, our first song from our wedding, You Make Me Feel Brand New. And the point was, it was in a hospital. It doesn't matter where you're at. And that's, I think, too many people lose sight of what's important. You're quiet. That worries me, Mike.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think, we spend our whole lives thinking about, when I get that car, I'm going to be happy. When I get that house, I'm going to be happy. When I graduate, I'm going to be happy. The reality is that, we fail to appreciate the moment that we're in. We're always thinking about the future and when something happens, then I'm going to be happy. But the reality is, we should just be celebrating all those moments. And that's exactly what you did with Beth in that hospital room. And you had the best Valentine's date ever. So I think that story just, really hits me quite hard to just appreciate the moment that we're in. Forget about, always, thinking about what's next and when we're going to be happy. Forget about that. Be happy today. I mean, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed, right?
Right. I think that's what I learned. There's that country song, which I'm not a big country fan, but Live Like You're Dying.
Yeah.
I got it. I lived it. And unlike some people who lose a loved one suddenly, I have no regrets.
Yeah.
I mean, those last 3 years, I read somewhere the value of a hug, if you hug for 30 seconds, the endorphins and everything. When you wonder how many hugs you're going to have, and I wonder, do we do that with people in our lives? Do we appreciate? I didn't. I had a better than average marriage, but every hug. And I thought, if God brings someone else into my life again, the first hug, the second's going to be like every hug I hug Beth, different. I wasn't in a big hurry, just hugging to get out the door. How often do we do that? Yep.
Yeah, those are great points. Now, I'm sure that you and Beth had anxiety, all throughout, your marriage and all the trials and tribulations that you go through in a 40-year relationship like that. What are some of the techniques that you use to reduce anxiety?
Well, I call it the ABCs of gratitude, and there must have been a higher power working, because the things I came up with and I write in this book, I'm just not that good. But I told her one night, her storm she had prior to the cancer was massive insomnia for almost a year. I would try to get her to sleep till like 3 a.m. And one night I said, Beth, let's say the ABCs of gratitude. She looks at me. I say, you say something or someone you're thankful that starts with A. I'll do B, you do C, I'll do D. We have a son-in-law named Zach, so we had Z covered. She never got to Z the rest of her life without falling asleep. And I think back to that pity party perspective, I think it's so easy. we have all these blessings. I went to the chiropractor. I put my back out this week. I was there at 8 o'clock, and I don't know where you're at. We're in Michigan. It's 20-some degrees, and it's almost April.
Yeah.
And I said, minor inconvenience. We could be living in the Ukraine right now.
Right.
But I mean, when you shift your blessings, what a difference from anxiety or fear or hopelessness. So that was huge.
Yeah. That's a great perspective to share. And you're right. I mean, I was talking to my dad yesterday, same thing. I mean, he lives in New York, and I think it's supposed to be in the single digits, coming up either today or tomorrow. But you know what? I mean, life can be so much worse when you think about what's happening right now in the Ukraine. I mean, just turn on the TV if you really want to understand what, hopelessness is really about. You can think about them and the fact that they have whatever's on their back. That's about it. So you're so right. Is there anything else, any other tips that you can share? I mean, I talked about yoga and things like that. I mean, anything else on sleeplessness?
Well, I think that the biggest thing is slowing the brain down. And I think you talked about yoga.
Yeah.
In my case, like I said, I get up. I started this about the year before all her health storms, where I'm up at 5 a.m. and like I said, I'm a person of faith, so you can call it meditating, you call it reflecting, you just slowing the brain down. I remember when I first started doing it, I couldn't do it. All the million things. I own my own business. I had 5 kids. I'm volunteering in the community, and over time, as I could slow the brain down, it's amazing, and hate to say it, downsize the life a little bit. That was the biggest blessing I got going to Romania. I saw people with almost nothing that seemed, I don't know, had more peace than I had.
Yeah.
And I realized I was going to build a pole barn to put my extra stuff in. And I asked the pastor, we were working with there, how much in American dollars is this pole barn? Guess what? I got rid of a bunch of junk and never did build it. But along with that stuff we have, there's responsibilities that go with it. Yeah. So I think that slowing down and then focusing on blessings were huge. But then the third one was service. And my wife, I don't know if you've heard of the 5 love languages. It's a book Gary Chapman wrote years ago. My wife says acts of service. She was always helping other people. And in the midst of the storm, she hosted like 25 young moms once a month. Was her sleepless nights be downstairs, decorating, setting up. And it just energized her. But she was in her zone, whatever that is, that energizes us, and that helps with anxiety too. Yeah, serving others, using your gifts.
I like all of that. I think that's fantastic. In the book, you talked about building on the rock as an individual instead of building on the sand. How do you think that applies to the college students who are listening right now?
Well, I think back to I had a college professor who, in dental school, he was a clinical instructor, but he's also a farmer. He was Rouse, or no? Yeah. Okay, that was that. It's going to come to it though. And what the whole point is everybody wants to get out of college and get the stuff. And I got to understand. My dad was born, you're gonna love it, I gotta go back, in a farmhouse. My grandpa didn't own it on the property that's now Saginaw Valley State University. Who would have known I'd go there someday? Right. He was born there in that farmhouse years ago. So my grandpa was a farmer. And when Dr. Pape barn and then the house, what he said, when you get out, don't worry about the new house, you take good care of your patients, your business will grow and you'll get the other stuff. But I think so often that's not the focus, and he was saying, focus on the people you're caring for, and you'll get the other stuff. And there's a Bible verse in scripture, it's like I said, I'm not pushing my faith, but it says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be. And it's it. So yeah, we found where's your heart at? And I
Right.
think college students, I've been there, done that. And man, I don't know whether you're working hard, you're in debt, you're just sick of studying. Oh, I've been there. I went to college for 10 years. You liked school? No, I didn't. It was a means to an end.
That's great advice. That is really, really good advice. So, how can we use humor to walk on water with a smile on your face?
Another thing I found, I think everybody, when they're in the storms of life, they think they can't laugh. Humor in the dental office to alleviate apprehension. I tell this story, but I don't know if we have time. It's pretty good. I think college students would like it. We had this guy, really apprehensive guy. So I put that topical anesthetic gel in his mouth, and I go and check another patient. I go to our front desk in the patient bathrooms across the hall. He's weeping. He's incessantly just weeping. So he gets back in the chair, and I come in. He goes, Doc, is it okay that I swallowed that gel? And my wife's in heaven rolling her eyes right now because the crap that comes out of my mouth, it just made her laugh. I said, not a problem. It's just when you crap yourself, you won't feel it. The dude started laughing so hard, he laughed through the entire extraction. The guy that was crying in fear. And when we were so focused, I think students focused on, I'm actually going out with a college student, the daughter of the Romanian that we work with in Romania. She's focused engineering student. I'm taking her out to lunch after this because I just can't get her to ease up. Just, okay, it's okay, but you got to have time to have a little fun too, not just study. But with my wife, I can remember one day I could tell I just shaved her head because of her chemo. It was falling out, and she was feeling just ugly, just not beautiful. And I said to her, what's your name? She goes, Beth. I goes, no. She goes, Beth Knoerr? No, Beth Frisky. The blush she had, and she would say it. So after that, I have to a little more, it's not humor, but it put a smile on her face. We would do the ABCs, and when she was down, I'd go, A stands for adorable Beth, B stands for bodacious Beth, C stands, I'll never forget the smile on her face. It's it. And yeah, I don't think college students realize you have some fun in the midst of the storm. You got to. It's amazing. Yes, you got to be dedicated, but
Yeah, I think about that often. I think there's value. I mean, even in like fraternity and sorority meetings, sometimes we could be tense, having a big disagreement. We don't see eye to eye, but I mean, there's some value in that one person in the chapter who can just make everybody laugh and kind of break that tension a little bit. There's value there. And sometimes I do that. I think I tend to go through some difficult moments by injecting some humor, and maybe some people are not comfortable with that. But that's my way of breaking that tension and just, kind of doing a reset and saying, okay, we're all humans here, let's have a light moment, and then we can get back to the debate. But every once in a while, just stopping to laugh, I don't think is a bad thing. And so that's typically how I also, approach some of those difficult conversations sometimes. So that's interesting here. Very, very interesting. I love this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, I've loved everything that you've been talking about today. Your book is fantastic. I know that Beth right now is just really looking down on you and really proud of the fact that you're sharing the story, because I think it really does apply to everybody who's listening. I think it applies to every college student. You're going to have those difficult moments in life. There's no question about that. The question is, what do you do with those moments? How do you turn those into a positive message? message. And that's typically what we do as speakers, is that, we go through those trials and tribulations ourselves, but then hopefully show the college students the other side of it, and how we were able to break through, and then ultimately become successful. Because I think a lot of these college students, if they're going to Saginaw Valley, for example, they're going to get to where they want to go because of their resilience, because of their ability to get back up off the mat after they've been knocked down, right?
Yep. And that's the real learning, is in those difficult moments. John Maxwell, who was a mentor of mine, I got certified, and people just, it's in the storm moments. If you're open, you can learn and grow. And that Beth and I grew in ways we thought we were already there as a college. There's the third thing I want to bring up to college students, that was a value to us. And when the storm of life hit, many people isolate. Our government isolated us. I'm not making a judgment on it, but in reality, we got isolated. And I'm telling you, our minds can take us into a spiral hole. And I think college students today think social media group. I've actually started a foundation called Be the Hope, after my wife's, and I don't call them support groups, because support means you want to lean on purpose, because you have purpose even in the storms. But we started to meet in Zoom, right? It was working. And when we started meeting in person, it changed. It changed things in terms of depression going away. And we luckily, out in our home, we luckily had it in place. But I don't think people seek community. And college students, that is my biggest worry, as I've done some coaching, is, you'll talk to them when you're stressed, you kind of keep it to yourself. And I'm very transparent in this book. I have what's called refuge reflection questions, where people, because they think, oh, he's successful, he doesn't get where I'm at. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do. That's how we can connect and support people, what we've grown through. Yep.
I agree. And I think today's fraternities and sororities, because of that community, that's one of the reasons why it's so valuable, because, we can catch other students in our organization that maybe haven't come out of their room for 2 or 3 days, maybe haven't taken a shower in a few days. These are things that we can pick up in a community. And so those are one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan of the fraternity and sorority system, is because of that community, because of the safety that's in numbers, looking out for one another when we have those dips, and they will come. There's no question. But to catch them in the moment, I think, is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Very good. So we do love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. So I'm wondering, the next time I'm in Marshall, Michigan, where should I be going to eat?
I'll tell you, friends of mine started this restaurant right downtown 5 years ago called OBX. Out of the box, and it have gluten-free. They offer dairy-free option, organic, locally sourced. For each, it's a historic restaurant. It's been there 100 years, called Schuler's. Sometimes you may be seeing the Schuler's hard cheese is pretty much a national thing, but that's just more. You want to eat healthy.
Those are some great suggestions. I really love that. So if our student listeners want to bring you in to speak on their campus, they want to pick up the book, where is the best place for them to go and connect with you?
It's so new. The website for the publisher isn't quite up yet. And my Be the Hope one, I'm just forming the foundation, all the legal. So if they go to, I also website on the John Maxwell team. If you look up my name, Rod Knoerr, John, my leadership coach, John Maxwell, I'm part of helping people stop, to encourage people. So then I got certified as leadership coach, but then right as I started my business, Beth need to be supported. So now I'm kind of with the book, starting it in a new way. It's going to be part of Be the Hope. Yep.
Fantastic.
Rod
Rod
Knoerr at
Knoerr.
bethehope.net.
Got it. All right. Very good. Well, Rod Knoerr, thank you so much. Go and pick up his book. It's called Don't Waste This Storm. And what can I say?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with all of our college students today. I know that they're going to really enjoy the book and pick up some lessons that I think are going to stick with them for a lifetime. So that way, as they face those challenges, they're going to know exactly what to do and when, and to appreciate the moments that they're spending time with. I think that's the most important thing, is just enjoy every single moment, celebrate the people that are around you, and don't be so focused on going out and getting that bigger house or that bigger car. Those things, you're going to look back on life and realize that those things really aren't as important. What really matters is the time that you've spent and those memories that you've made with the people that you love around you.
I agree. And I just want to give you my definition of a mentor. You said wisdom, because I've hit that age, everybody looks at me as a mentor. A mentor is someone that's willing to share his mistakes and hope the younger people learn quicker than he did.
Yep. Absolutely.
Here's what the book looks like. Don't waste the storm.
Fantastic.
Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Right,
thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy this interview, be sure to like it and share it with other college students. Go and pick up his book, Don't Waste This Storm by Rod Knoerr. And we look forward to seeing you on another episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.